Oh. Om Stapakaya cha dharmasya sarvadharma swarupine avatara varishtaya Ramakrishnaya te namaha. Welcome to this series of talks on the disciples and associates of Sri Ramakrishna. When we started this series of lectures, I said that we will take up both monastics as well as household disciples of Sri Ramakrishna. The two books on which these lectures are based are God Live With Them, which is for monastic disciples, and They Live With God for lay disciples, both by Swami Chetanananda. So far, we have been concentrating on the monastic disciples, whose Sthiti Puja or birth anniversary we observe in the Ramakrishna order. Today we will start with the lay friends or disciples, namely Rani Rasmani. Early life of Rani Rasmani. Rani Rasmani was born in September 1793 at a village called Kona on the eastern bank of the Ganges, about 50 kilometers north of Kolkata. The name she was given at birth was Rasmani, but her mother used to call her Rani, which means queen. Rani's father's name was Hari Krishna Das, while her mother was known as Ramapriya Dasi. Rani had two brothers and one sister. Not much seems to be known about them. Hare Krishna maintained the family by farming and repairing roofs of cottages. But the family was very poor, even though Hare Krishna was able to read and write in Bengali. Both Rani's parents were Vaishnavas. Hare Krishna was the village storyteller, narrating stories from the Ramayana, Mahabharata, and other Puranas. This spread education among the villagers, especially moral and spiritual education. Rani was in the audience to listen to these stories. Rani, as a little girl, would carry food for her father and do all kinds of work to help her parents. She helped her mother with household work, picked vegetables, and other types of work. Like others brought up in poverty, she never demanded anything from her mother. But Rani's mother died when she was only 7 years old. This was a great shock to Rani. Rani's relatives tried to console her by saying that her mother would be back soon after she recovers her health. But Rani eventually found out that her mother was not returning. Rani's married life. When Rani became mature, her father wanted to marry her off. In those days, dowries were given. Her father did not know if he could afford the dowry. But luckily, he did not have to worry much. In the spring of 1804, Rani went to bathe in the Ganges. Unknown to her, she was being observed by Raj Chandra Das, the son of Pritaram Das. Pritaram Das was a landlord of Jan Bazaar, Calcutta. Raj Chandra had married twice, but both his wives died. Because of this, Raj Chandra did not want to marry again, but his father wanted him to do so that the family lineage would continue. Raj Chandra had gone in his boat to also bathe when he caught sight of Rani, or she was pointed out to him by his friends. Raj Chandra was impressed. When he returned home, his father was informed and encouraged the liaison of his son with Rani. Pritaram Das sent a proposal of marriage to Rani's father, who was overjoyed. The marriage was held in April 1804. Raj Chandra's father was self-made, who acquired a lot of wealth even though he was born in a poor family. Pritaram had a close relationship with the ruling Britishers, as he used to supply them with certain materials. He purchased many estates and became an influential landlord. Pritaram died in 1870, and then his son Raj Chandra inherited rupees 650,000 and a large amount of property. Raj Chandra was also a successful man. He would consult Rani before taking any important decision. Rani was not affected by the wealth of her husband. She retained her humble upbringing. She took care of her husband, supervised the kitchen work and other household activities, and performed her religious and spiritual practices. Rajchandra and Rani were not just hoarders of wealth, they were also active philanthropists. During the floods of 1823, the couple spent a significant amount to feed and house the afflicted. She also spent money on public goods like river ghats and roads. These projects were approved by the British, and that is how Babur Ghat and Babu Road, now Rani Rasmani Road, came into being. Rajchandra also had another ghat built in Ahiritola in memory of his mother and an old age home in Nimittala at the request of the Rani. Some of the other projects that the couple engaged in were donating 10,000 rupees for a government library, a free ferry service, and digging up a pond because of the scarcity of water. In 1833, Rajchandra was conferred the title Rai Bahadur, a leader among men, by the British rulers for his integrity, generosity, and other qualities. Rajchandra had close associations with the East India Company and the elite of Calcutta society like Prince Dwaraknath Tagore, grandfather of the Nobel laureate Rabindranath. The couple had 4 daughters called Padmamani, Kumari, Karuna, and Jagadamba. Rajchandra had a new home built for the family in 1821. It was located in Jan Bazaar, Calcutta. It cost 2.5 million rupees. It had 300 rooms. This is now known as Rani Rasmani Kutir. Swami Chetanananda narrates an interesting story that happened in the new house. Once, when Rajchandra was taking a rest in the afternoon, a monk came to see him. Initially, the security guards or darwans ignored him, but later they let him in. Once in the parlor, Rajchandra came to him. The monk asked Rajchandra to keep a statue of Rama that he had with him. He asked for the statue to be fed every day. Rajchandra wanted to offer something to the monk, but he said that he was not a beggar monk. Then, when Rajchandra died, and when Rani fed the Brahmins, the poor, and monks, this monk came back. When the Rani offered him various items, the monk refused and only accepted a kamandalu or water pot and a blanket, which made Rani shed tears seeing the monk's renunciation. Rajchandra's death came in 1836. He was travelling in a carriage when he had a bout of apoplexy and fell unconscious. In spite of the efforts of the best doctors, they were not able to prevent him from passing away. Rajchandra was 49 when he passed. Rani as a widow. After the death of her husband, Rani began to manage the estate with the involvement of her sons-in-law. For this, she mostly depended on Mathur. Rani's third daughter, Karuna, was married to Mathur but died in 1833. Rani then proposed that Mathur marry her fourth daughter, Jagadamba. Rani displayed her business acumen in an incident with Dwaraknath Tagore. Tagore offered to be the manager of her estate after Rani's husband died. But Tagore had borrowed 200,000 rupees earlier when Rani's husband was alive. When Tagore offered her to be her manager, Rani replied that she did not know how much property and money she had, but she said that if Tagore can pay her back, it would be good. Tagore said that he didn't have cash, but had property that she could have. The offered property was worth more than 200,000 rupees. She accepted the property from Tagore and told him that she would manage the property with the help of her son-in-law. In this incident, the Rani showed her far-sightedness, intelligence, and tact. As a widow, Rani followed all the rules and injunctions. She would awake early in the morning and repeat her mantra. At mid-morning, she would attend to her office work, working with Mathur. At noon, she would have prasad and take some rest. Later, she would again attend to her office work. At Sandhya or twilight, she would attend the Aratrikam. She used to also invite pandits to her home who would read and explain the scriptures. Rani would also observe religious festivals like the Ka festival and Durga Puja. On these occasions, she would engage the local artisans to make the required things. She would also feed the poor and needy and made sure that everyone who visited got something from the occasion. Rani standing up to the British rulers. Swami Chetanananda also describes some incidents of Rani standing up to the British rulers. One incident happened just before Durga Puja. The priests and a music party went to perform a ritual by the Ganges. Since the music was playing, it disturbed the sleep of an Englishman. He ordered them to stop, but they didn't heed his words. Then the Englishman complained to the police. But the next day, the Rani engaged more musicians to conduct the ritual. The Rani was incensed that the British were trying to circumvent a religious festival. As a result, a case was brought against Rani and she was made to pay rupees 50 as a fine. She paid the fine, but that wasn't the end. She ordered for some barricades to be put on the road and ghat she owned. This halted the traffic and made it difficult for the British to conduct their business. The Britishers learned that Rani was a tough cookie and reimbursed her 50 rupees fine and asked her to remove the barricades. This was done. An example of Rani supporting the poor was when the British government introduced a tax on fishermen and fisherwomen who used the Ganges to catch their fish. The fishermen and fisherwomen requested various prominent people to help them, but were unsuccessful. Rani offered to help them. She leased a portion of the area and had it barricaded. She then asked the fishermen and fisherwomen to catch their fish in the barricaded area which she had leased. Thus, they didn't have to pay the tax. This caused problems for maritime freedom of navigation. Commercial boats could not reach their destinations. In response, the British government ordered her to remove the barricades. The Rani responded by saying that the large steamers drove away the fish and deprived the fishermen and fisherwomen whose livelihood was confined to catching fish. Hence the reason and rationale for the barricades. She added that she had paid a government a handsome amount for the lease. Ultimately, the British returned the money and allowed the poor fishermen and poor fisherwomen to catch fish free of any tax. The Rani also helped the British government. This happened during the Sepoy Mutiny in 1857 when she provided food, livestock, and other necessities. There was a British Army barracks located close to the residence of the Rani. Once, some drunken soldiers were assaulting a person on the street. Someone from Rani's household noticed this and sent some of their security personnel from their house to drive away the drunken soldiers. When this was being done, one of the soldiers was injured. The soldier went back to the barracks and brought more soldiers. The soldiers then ransacked and plundered Rani's house. The security personnel from Rani's residence were outnumbered. Rani then asked her family members to leave through the back door. Rani then armed herself with a sword and was ready to take on the angry soldiers. The soldiers, even though they vandalized the premises, did not go to where Rani was. When this incident happened, Madhur was not at home. When he returned, he found out what was going on. He went to the barracks and spoke to the commander. Madhur and the commander rushed to the residence and got control of the situation. After this, Rani appointed some British soldiers as security guards and got some compensation from the British government for the ransacking. Pilgrimages. Swami Chaitanananda next narrates the pilgrimages that the Rani undertook from 1850 and the challenges she encountered. The first was to see Lord Jagannath in Puri, Orissa in 1850. The next was to Ganga Sagar in 1851. It was again when Rani was getting ready for a pilgrimage to Varanasi, most probably in 1847, that she had a vision or dream. The Divine Mother appeared to her and told her that she need not go to Varanasi. The Divine Mother asked her to install her image on the bank of the Ganga and make regular arrangements for worship. The Divine Mother promised to constantly be present in the image. After this experience, Rani called off her pilgrimage to Varanasi and distributed the items that she had acquired among Brahmins and the poor. The founding of the Dakshineshwar temple. Swami Chaitanananda quotes a saying which says that the western bank of the Ganges is as holy as Varanasi. Initially, Rani tried to buy some land across the river from Dakshineshwar, but was unable to, despite her offering large sums of money. Finally, she was able to buy a plot of land measuring about 20 acres on the eastern side of the Ganges at Dakshineshwar. This was a few miles north of Kolkata. The land was auspicious according to the scriptures because it was shaped like a tortoise shell. The construction of the temple began in 1847 and it took about 8 years to complete. In addition to the main temple dedicated to Bhavatarini Kali, there were also a Krishna temple and 12 small shrines dedicated to Shiva. During the building of the temple, there was a problem that arose. How was the Rani to offer cooked food to the deities because she was not a Brahmin by birth? It is a custom that you have to be a Brahmin to offer food to a deity in a temple. Rani was in a fix. She started wondering if all her efforts were to come to nothing because of this. She consulted Brahmin Pandits by writing to them to see if they had any insights as to how to overcome this scriptural problem. Rani only got a favorable response from Ramkumar Chattopadhyay. Ramkumar, who was Sri Ramakrishna's older brother, had come to Kolkata from Kamarpukur to begin a Sanskrit school. Ramkumar suggested that if the property was made a gift to a Brahmin, and then if arrangements for food offerings were done, it would not be against the scriptures. Other Brahmins would also be able to consume the food. Rani was enthusiastic about this decision. She made a gift of the temple to her guru and confined her and her family to the managerial role of the temple. Before the inauguration of the temple, another problem arose: whether it was right to conduct the dedication ceremony before the temple was completed. Swami Chaitanananda quotes Sri Ramakrishna. I shall paraphrase Sri Ramakrishna. Rani started practicing various forms of austerity ever since the sculpting of the image of Bhavatarini began. She bathed thrice a day, only ate vegetarian food, slept on the floor, practice japa, worship and prayers. After the image was completed, it was kept packed in a box. Then the box seemed to perspire. Rani then had a dream in which the Divine Mother asked her, "How long will you keep me confined in this way? I feel suffocated. Install me as soon as possible." Rani acted on the instructions imparted to her in the dream. She consulted the almanac or panchika and tried to get an auspicious day. The first available day was Snanyatra, the bathing festival of Lord Jagannath in Puri, Orissa. She chose that day for the dedication of the temple, which happened to fall on 31 May 1855. Ramkumar accepted the offer by Rani to officiate at the dedication and installation ceremony. He also agreed to be the priest of Bhavatarni Kali until a successor could be found. The temple complex was decorated lavishly for the function. Pandits came from around the country. They were all richly rewarded for their attendance. Sri Ramakrishna was also there at the dedication function, but he did not eat the food from the temple. He cooked his own food and ate it, observing caste rules. Ramkumar asked his brother Ramakrishna to stay at Dakshineshwar a couple of times, but Ramakrishna refused to do so. Ramkumar continued to stay at Dakshineshwar. Ramakrishna returned to Dakshineshwar after about a week. It was then that Ramkumar told Sri Ramakrishna that he had accepted an offer of the Rani to be the pujari of the Kali temple and that he was going to close his school. It was then that Sri Ramakrishna accepted to stay with his brother at Dakshineshwar, but he insisted on cooking his own food. Rani's association with Sri Ramakrishna. It is not known if there was any interaction between Rani and Sri Ramakrishna before the following incident. That incident was a priest of the Krishna temple at Dakshineshwar accidentally dropped the image of Sri Krishna. As a result, one of the legs of Sri Krishna broke off. This was considered to be a bad sign by the priests and administration. They consulted the Pandits as to what should be done next. The Pandits were unanimous that the image be replaced. At Madhu's suggestion, Rani consulted Sri Ramakrishna. Sri Ramakrishna posed the question that if one of Rani's son-in-laws was to break a leg, would she replace him or get him medical attention to treat his injury? The answer was obvious. She would mend the leg. Similarly, the broken image can also be mended and kept in the shrine. This answer surprised the Pandits. Rani and Madhur were overjoyed by the advice. Ramakrishna not only mended the image but agreed to be the new pujari of the Krishna temple. Sometime later, Ramkumar passed away. Before his passing, he showed Ramakrishna the worship of Bhavatarni Kali. This was Sri Ramakrishna's second experience of death in the family. His first experience was of his father's passing when Ramakrishna was 7 years old. The transitoriness of the world became palpable to him. He started to intensify his worship. His whole being was set in having a vision of Mother Kali. Because of this, he may have done some unorthodox things which were observed by the other temple staff. They thought that Ramakrishna was mad. Information was sent to management, which included Rani and Madhur. Madhur once secretly visited the temple to observe Ramakrishna's worship. What he saw thoroughly impressed him. He saw that Bhavatarani Kali was being treated like a person. Madhur ordered the other temple officials not to disturb him. Madhur then reported to Rani that they had an extraordinary pujari. But this is not to say that they were not tested. Rani once came to Dakshineshwar to hear Ramakrishna sing. She had previously heard of his singing and was much impressed. Sri Ramakrishna then started singing for the Divine Mother in Rani's presence. He then suddenly stopped and slapped her on the cheeks and said to her, "What, even here you think of such thoughts?" Suddenly there was commotion in the temple. Rani's attendants and security personnel of the temple were waiting for Rani's order to dismiss Ramakrishna from the temple. But the Rani sat there composed and introspective. She realized that she had been thinking about a court case while Ramakrishna was singing, and that Ramakrishna was justified in slapping her. She later said aloud that Ramakrishna was not to blame and dismissed the security guards. Since the inauguration, Rani spent more time in religious and spiritual pursuits. She used to come to Dakshineshwar and talk about God with Sri Ramakrishna. She used to also enjoy Sri Ramakrishna singing. In 1861, Rani became sick with fever and chronic dysentery. She knew that her death was imminent, and she tied all the loose ends of her last will with respect to the property. Then she passed away on 19 February 1861. Just before she died, she seems to have had the vision of the Mother of the universe. So this is the end. The interaction between Sri Ramakrishna and Rani Rasmani was only limited to about 6 years. So there was not too much interaction between her and Ramakrishna. But this is the first chapter from Chetananandaji's They Live with God. So even though it doesn't give us very much, doesn't give us too many details about Sri Ramakrishna's early life, but still we get some insights into the way Sri Ramakrishna interacted with Madhur, especially that confronting incident about him slapping her in the temple. So next week, we will most probably do Swami Premanand because his Tithi Puja is coming. So next week we will have a talk on Swami Premananda. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.